Hello humans, I'm the TheAlienDoctor, but you could call me Alien, and I played Minecraft Bedrock for over 1,000 in-game days. Or to be exact, 1,194. That's like almost 1,200. Wow. It was longer than I thought. So due to Bedrock not having an in-game day counter and that I didn't plan this video when I first made the world, I'm going to split it up into episodes instead of days because there's no real way for me to know what day is when. You can find the link for the complete playlist for all episodes in the description if something looks of interest, and you could also find timestamps there if something gets a bit boring on a particular episode. And, I mean, whilst you're in the description, you can find the link for the Discord server, which you should certainly join. A little bit of history now. The first video I made on this world was in September 23rd, 2020, and it ran until August 18th, 2022. That means this world has been running for exactly 1 year, 10 months, and 5 days, with most days me logging on to it and doing stuff. There is also a world download in the description if you do want to check this world out for yourself, and as I mentioned, it's on Minecraft Bedrock Edition. We started this world in something like 1.16, can't remember the exact update for 1.16, but without further ado, let's take a look at episode 0. Episode 0 started with me dying lots of times to pillagers. For some reason, I gave myself the challenge of trying to take on a pillager outpost on day 1, which did not end very well. After taking on the outpost with nothing but a stone sword, looting all the loot and killing all the pillagers, I was eventually able to locate the area I was going to build my starter base, but more on that later. And like at the beginning of most good Minecraft worlds, I then went resource gathering. But to begin the next episode, the first task I did was go mining whilst crawling. I believe there's a name for that, can't remember what it's called, because I wanted to try this new method of mining that I'd never done before. During this time, I also found my first diamonds. After gathering some resources, I was able to build a wall, which would be a part of my starter base. And then I did even more caving. What can I say? I like caving. In between recording, I also built an AFK fish farm and did a small amount of AFKing there. Now that place definitely needed some decorating, so I went ahead and did that. It was about time I got some enchanted gear, so I went down to the mines with a fresh diamond pickaxe to mine some obsidian for an enchantment table. And to decorate the enchantment table area, I also built a house to surround it, as well as a temporary zero-tick sugarcane farm so I could get some bookshelves. Before I started recording the next episode, I continued a bit more on the wall for the starter base. At this time, I like to take builds slowly and not always finish them in the same episode, which you may notice as a theme for these earlier episodes. The next episode, I started things off by mining some obsidian for a nether portal, and then headed in there to get some soul sand for a bubble elevator for a spawner farm. You see, I needed XP so I could continue enchanting all of my gear using the enchantment table, so using a nearby zombie spawner, I created a drowned XP farm. This means I could get the drowns, drops, and all the armor the zombies were wearing. However, to complete the trident killer for the farm, I needed some observers, which would require quartz. I set back into the nether to gather a small amount of quartz, and ended up nearly dying multiple times. Eventually, I was able to get the quartz and build the farm. One livestream later, and I had started work on mining out a slime chunk, only to find that I'd been mining the wrong chunk. Oops. After this failure, I decided it was time to get some more diamonds because mining out a slime chunk with iron tools isn't really that fun. As well as this, I also did a bit of minor modifications and decorations to the drowned farm. Using that XP, I was able to enchant more of my gear. After getting Bad Omen, I decided to start a raid in a nearby village and try and complete this raid. Overall, it went well and gave me some emeralds and totems, although I'm pretty sure there was only like one villager that survived, or none. Most of the villagers did die, because I was a big silly and didn't block them in or anything. But now we were desperately in need of a place to keep our chests and sleep somewhere, so we went ahead and built the main area for our starter base, which was a mine, as well as a slight bit of terraforming in that general area. And then the 1.16.100 update came out, and after updating the world, it was discovered by some big brain technical people that science could be used to break bedrock. So just in case in the future you're able to build on the nether roof, I decided to break a small hole in the bedrock up there. Of course, in Bedrock, you can't actually build on the nether roof, and unfortunately, this functionality was never added during the time this world was going. However, Bedrock roof aside, it was time to build ourselves some villager-based contraptions, so I went ahead and created a simple villager breeder to fuel our villager trading hall needs. Using these newly bred villagers, I constructed a trading hall that I planned on upgrading quite a lot in the future, but for now it would just hold the villagers I needed at this time. Now one of the villagers I wanted was a cleric, and clerics need brewing stands, so I guess it's back to the nether for some blaze rods. If only it was that simple. We're in a bit of a sticky situation. I wasn't expecting that. Oh no. That's like all of my stuff. It's episode 10 now, and as you can imagine, I was getting really bored of not having an elytra, so it was time to fix that. However, I didn't really feel like killing the dragon today, so I just built a big bridge to the outer end islands instead. After lots of end raiding, we were equipped with many elytra and lots of shulker boxes as well. This would be the first and last time I went end raiding on this world. I also constructed a passive bone meal farm using a skeleton spawner that was loaded when I was in my starter base, and this was basically running for the entire series, which really meant that I never had a lack of bones. But remember that passive bone farm that I just mentioned? Forget it. I got a new PC and forgot to take a backup after building it before switching to my new PC and reinstalling Windows on my old laptop. So basically, the bone farm doesn't exist anymore. Oops. But it was time we got ourselves some netherite gear, and I even finished mining out the slime chunk. In between episodes, I also went ahead and rebuilt the passive bone meal farm because I wanted bones. What can I say? But seeing as I had recently been neglecting the starter base, I built up a new house there, which unlike the others had no functions or use yet, and I also completed the slime farm. Because it was a dual slime chunk farm, it produced way more slime than I ever needed. I wanted emeralds, preferably as many as I could get, so it was time to finally build a raid farm using the outpost we raided at the start of the series. It turned out this outpost was actually a dual spawn spot outpost because it crossed 2 chunk borders, which meant the farm should be a little bit faster than others. During this time, I was daily streaming on Twitch, so I decided that today's stream would be on AlienCraft, where I would complete the raid farm. Over time, I had generated a couple of chest monsters in the areas I had been working, so I finally went ahead and cleared those up, moving them all into the mine part of the starter base, as well as finishing the drowned farm decoration, and even building both a new path and a new house for the starter base. But we needed rockets for the elytra, so it was finally time to solve that issue by constructing a simple zero-tick sugarcane farm. This solved our lack of paper. And then a modified creeper-only farm designed by Navy Nexus, which I had modified into a general mob farm, also fixed the lack of gunpowder. Seeing as we needed coral fans for the mob farm, I also constructed a coral fan and seagrass farm. Thanks to all this, it now meant that I had basically an infinite supply of rockets. It was beacon time, so heading into the nether, I created a minecart portal-based fortress farm that never really worked properly. Thanks, Bedrock Edition. During a live stream, I also built up an iron farm. This farm, designed by Prowl, also worked great as a string farm. I had been working on the base plans and finally shared them for the first time in this series, but I'll talk more about that later. Now that we had a half-working source of wither skeleton skulls, it was time to fight our first wither. As you can imagine, especially during the time this was recorded, the wither was a big pain to fight on Bedrock, and I ended up dying 12 times as well as losing lots of my gear. Today was the day. I was finally going to start work on the base, but I also wanted to finish the storage system for the raid farm. So after finishing that storage, I did, however, begin working on the base by beginning construction of a perimeter wall, as well as flattening out tons of land. My plan is that there was going to be a perimeter wall and then a sort of futuristic military Area 51 type of base, so there would be a lot of white concrete and cyan terracotta there. After losing all my stuff whilst AFK at the raid farm, it was time to get all of it back, but better. I had enough diamonds to replace the gear, all I needed was the enchantments. It was finally time to upgrade the village trading hall. And after doing a bit of netherite mining, I finally had some gear that was at least a little bit like what I had before, although I never really got that much netherite again. By the time episode 21 came around, I noticed something a bit strange. A weird drone-looking thing had appeared in my world over at spawn with a book that had a link on, which led to a rickroll. But it also led to some blueprints for a strange machine. I decided the only logical thing to do was to follow the blueprints, so I constructed the machine, not knowing what to do next. So I just left it there. But now it was time to work on the base, so I did some more terraforming and continued building the perimeter wall. I also created a path from the starter base to the new base area. I also decided it was time to deal with the Ender Dragon, so on stream we quickly dealt with that space lizard. I was starting to get a bit tired of having a lack of easy experience, so it was gold farm time. That would give me more than enough experience as well as tons of gold, which I didn't really have a use for. Now during this time, the strange machine I had built had been sitting down in the slime farm area for a while now, so I decided it was time for me to figure out what it does. It turned out to be a time machine that took me to 3 different worlds: Minecraft Season 1, Big Ink SMP, and Aliencraft Season 1. If you want more info about this, then check out the lore playlist below. However, due to a random nether portal appearing, I was able to get back to Aliencraft Season 2 safely and continue working, so it was time to work on the base. I created both a storage system and half of the building for the gold farm, and I lost internet, so I wasn't able to time-lapse the rest of the building for the gold farm, so I ended the episode there. But now it's episode 26, so I finished the rest of the gold farm exterior now that my internet was back, and also did lots of resource gathering for gravel, sand, and terracotta. Now that 1.18 had released, it's time to take a look at all the new world generation and weird quirks from the world blending, as well as work a bit more on the starter base. Yeah, somehow that thing still isn't done. Seeing as we had a pretty good amount of wither skulls, I decided to take on a wither again, and thanks to my totally professional skills, lots of totems, instant health potions, and a health beacon, I was able to defeat it without dying. I then fancied building with some sea lanterns, seeing as it would be a great block to use for lighting in the base. So it was time to use my latest tutorial to create an early game guardian farm, as I didn't feel like creating a full size one. This also included raiding the strangely generated ocean monument. Once again, pretty sure that's thanks to world blending. And thanks to various other updates, my slime farm was a little bit broken. So I went ahead and fixed it. It was also time to build a melon and pumpkin farm, with the intention being that I could use them to trade for villagers for emeralds. However, there was one slight issue with that plan, being that most of my villagers had died due to my outdated villager trading hall design that I still hadn't updated to my new design. So I went ahead and used the villagers in my iron farm for a trading hall, seeing as this design was already a combo design, but I had only been using the iron farm function. And it was very good timing that I did this, because soon after, a strange robot crashed a machine into the old trading hall that looked the same as the one I had constructed using the blueprints earlier in the series. Like, what a coincidence. Remember that fortress farm? Well, I wanted to fix it, so I went ahead and removed all the broken portals and finally managed to fix it. Although that farm was never really working 100% due to Bedrock portal linking being really annoying and hard to work with. So we moved on from that and created a new super smelter in the base, complete with an exterior building as well. I then went and had an epic sode and constructed a new tower in the starter base area, decorated in the mine part of the starter base, a temporary lab around the crash site, and even mined out an area next to the slime farm for a future project. I also noticed that the sun and moon had disappeared. Strange, huh? But let's just ignore that issue because I wanted a bamboo farm. So after fixing the raid farm to work again on the latest version, we created a flying machine based bamboo farm, and once again following the theme, I didn't decorate the outside of it. And then another strange thing happened. The clouds had changed and were now in a weird sort of pattern that they were definitely not meant to be in. Now, there had been a lot of strange things going on in the world, so let's do something about it. I constructed a lab with the plan on using it to investigate the strange things happening in the world and to study the world. Now it was time to decorate the bamboo farm I constructed a few episodes ago, but before I could do that I needed some resources. Heading down into the lab I constructed last episode where I had tons of gravel there, I found a bit of an infestation problem. Now this is a huge spoiler warning if you haven't seen those episodes, but the events of that day ended up with it being revealed to me that Aliencraft was a simulation, so after that, me and my new friend AlienBot, who told me the simulation was a thing, broke out and I was unable to return to Aliencraft World. So that is the story of how I played Minecraft Bedrock Edition for over 1,000 in-game days. It's been an absolutely wild ride and I wouldn't change it. This is actually a copy of the world download, which you can download from my website, linked in the description. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to subscribe for more Minecraft Bedrock Edition content and to join the Alien Empire. And speaking of joining, why not join the Discord? We have an awesome group of people there. But other than that, I'll see you in the next video coming very, very soon. Thank you to my supporters. Bye.